Importance of family bonding, Qur'anic guidance. What if I told you that the biggest solution to the problems of modern society isn't technology, isn't money, isn't politics, but something much closer to you? What if I told you the solution has been sitting in your living room all along? It's family. But not just family as in blood relations, family as in bonding, family as in hearts tied together, family as in love, mercy, and respect. The Quran reminds us of this truth in a verse that is so simple yet so profound. Allah says, "And we created you in pairs and made for you love and mercy." That's the foundation. Family begins with mercy. Without mercy, there is no bond. Without bond, there is no family. And without family, society begins to collapse. Think about it. You can have the tallest buildings, the fastest internet, the most advanced medicine, but if homes are broken, if families are divided, what happens to the next generation? What happens to the child who grows up never feeling loved? What happens to the elderly parent left forgotten in a corner? That's where the Quran comes in, not just as a book of rituals, but as a guidebook for life. Over and over, Allah emphasizes kindness to parents. Not once, not twice, but dozens of times. Why? Because family is not optional in Islam. It is sacred. It is the root from which everything else grows. But let me share something with you that feels like a secret. Society today has flipped the script. The world tells you to chase me first, my career, my goals, my comfort. Family can wait. Parents can wait. Children can wait. But here's the irony. When we chase me, we lose us. And when we lose us, even me becomes empty. Have you ever noticed how some of the most successful people, famous, wealthy, admired, still say they feel lonely? That's because success without family feels like a banquet without food. You have the table, the lights, the celebration, but nothing to eat. Now imagine the opposite. A small, simple home. No luxury. Just a dinner table with parents, children, laughter, love. Which one feels richer? Which one would you rather come home to every night? This is why the Quran doesn't just suggest family bonding, it commands it. It tells us, worship none but Allah and be kind to your parents. Notice that. Right after Allah's worship, kindness to parents. That's how high the value of family is. And let's be real, family bonding isn't always easy. There are disagreements. There are frustrations. Sometimes you feel misunderstood. But the Quran teaches us patience. It tells us to lower our wings of humility to our parents. It tells us to forgive, to reconcile, to keep ties even when it's hard. Because breaking ties of family is not just a social problem, it's a spiritual danger. So let's open the door slowly, step by step. First, bond with parents through respect, gratitude, and service. Then, bond with spouses through mercy, patience, and partnership. Then, bond with children through love, guidance, and presence. And finally, bond with extended family through kindness, forgiveness, and connection. Each bond is a door, and when you open all of them, you create a home filled with light. And here's the final truth: if we fix our families, we fix our society. Because society is nothing more than families multiplied. If every home shines, the whole world shines. So don't wait until tomorrow to call your parents. Don't wait until next week to sit with your children. Don't wait until it's too late to say, "I love you." Do it now, because family is not forever. Family is now. And I'll leave you with this VIP truth. If you want to build a legacy that lasts beyond your name, don't start with your career. Don't start with your bank account. Start with your family. Because when family bonds are strong, generations are unbreakable. Family is the foundation of a healthy society, and its value is emphasized repeatedly in the Quran. The Quran places kindness to parents right next to the worship of Allah, showing its sacred importance. True success is incomplete without family bonding. Wealth and fame cannot replace love and connection at home. Modern culture prioritizes me, but Islam prioritizes us, community, connection, and compassion. Family bonds require mercy, patience, and forgiveness as commanded by the Quran. Strengthening family bonds is not only a personal duty, but also the solution to many societal problems. Family is the foundation of a healthy society. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but when you begin to peel back the layers, you realize just how profound this truth is. Imagine a tree. Its strength is not in the height of its branches or the greenness of its leaves, but in the roots buried deep beneath the soil. A tree with shallow roots may look beautiful for a while, but the moment the storm comes, it topples. Families are those roots. Without them, society is nothing more than leaves swaying in the wind, fragile, unstable, and easily broken. The Qur'an reminds us of this foundation in so many places. Allah tells us about love and mercy being placed between spouses, about children being a trust, about parents deserving kindness and honor. Why? Because when those bonds are strong, the ripple effect reaches far beyond the walls of one home. A child who grows up in a house filled with love becomes an adult who spreads love. A parent who feels honored and respected raises children who understand respect. A spouse who feels mercy and patience in marriage mirrors that mercy in the way they treat neighbors, colleagues, and strangers. Family is the training ground for society. It is the first school, the first government, the first place where values are learned and practiced. But look at the world around us. When families fracture, everything else follows. Crime rises, depression rises, loneliness becomes an epidemic. Why do you think so many people feel adrift, empty, searching for meaning? It often traces back to broken or absent family bonds. A child who grows up without stability seeks belonging elsewhere. Sometimes that belonging is healthy, but too often it is destructive. The Quran, in its divine wisdom, makes family sacred not to limit us, but to protect us from these very fractures. Let me paint a picture. Imagine a young boy who comes home from school. He has had a rough day. He was bullied. His teacher scolded him, and his heart is heavy. If he walks into a home where his parents are absent or distracted, his pain grows. He feels unseen. That seed of neglect begins to grow into bitterness or insecurity. Now imagine the same boy walking into a home where his parents ask him about his day, where his mother hugs him, where his father sits down and listens. The difference is night and day. That love becomes a shield against the cruelty of the world. It gives him confidence. It gives him strength. This is not just a personal victory. That boy grows into a man who treats others with kindness because he knows what kindness feels like. Think too of the elderly parent. How many times do we see mothers and fathers left alone, forgotten, treated as burdens? But the Quran tells us, and lower to them the wing of humility out of mercy, and say, "My Lord, have mercy upon them as they brought me up when I was small." There is a reason this is emphasized so much. A society that abandons its parents abandons its soul. When the bond between generations is severed, wisdom is lost. The young no longer learn from the old no longer feel valued, and society becomes shallow, disconnected, obsessed with the present but blind to its roots. We often chase solutions in grand policies or advanced systems. But what if the solution is much simpler? What if the most powerful way to fight loneliness, to fight selfishness, to fight injustice is simply to strengthen the family unit? The Quran doesn't just offer rituals of prayer and fasting. It offers a blueprint for building homes filled with compassion, respect, and love. That is why it constantly returns to the theme of family. Because if the home is whole, society is whole. Let me give you another example. A daughter grows up in a home where her father respects her mother. She sees mercy, patience, and partnership. What happens when she grows older? She sets her expectations high. She looks for respect in her own relationships. Now contrast this with a home filled with conflict and neglect. That same daughter may grow up believing that disrespect is normal, that love is conditional, that pain is to be expected. The cycle continues until someone breaks it. The Quran teaches us to break it with love, with mercy, with honoring the bonds of family. And so the question is not whether family is important. The question is whether we are willing to return to the Qur'anic model of family. Because if we do, the ripple effect is unstoppable. A society that honors parents produces children who honor society. A society that protects marriage produces generations that know stability. A society that values children as trust from Allah raises future leaders filled with compassion. Family is not just a private affair, it is the architecture of civilization itself. So when Allah places family at the heart of His guidance, He is not simply telling us to be kind to parents or to raise children well. He is telling us that family is the seed from which everything else grows. Nurture the seed and you will have a garden. Neglect it and all you'll have is weeds. And that is why family, rooted in Qur'anic guidance, is the true foundation of a healthy society. Imagine this for a moment. You're standing in prayer, reciting the words of Allah. The Qur'an flows from your lips, declaring His greatness, His mercy, His oneness. And then, in the very same breath, right after commanding you to worship Him alone, Allah says, and be kind to your parents. Isn't that astonishing? Out of all the commands in the universe, out of all the duties He could have placed beside His worship, He chose this one. Not jihad, not wealth, not even knowledge, kindness to parents. That's not random. That's divine prioritization. And yet, how often do we take it lightly? How often do we assume our parents will always be there, that they'll always forgive, that their love is guaranteed? But the Quran reminds us, their status is not small, their place is not ordinary, their rights are not negotiable. In fact, their mention is stitched right beside Allah's worship, as if to say, if you love me, prove it through them. Picture a mother. She carried you for 9 months. She woke up in the middle of the night again and again to feed you, to rock you, to comfort you. She sacrificed her sleep, her comfort, her youth, just so you could live and grow. And then picture a father. He carried the weight of the world on his shoulders so you wouldn't have to. He worked long hours, swallowed his pride, endured exhaustion, just so you could eat, so you could learn, so you could smile. They both lived a life of quiet sacrifices, most of which you never even saw. And yet, how do we repay them? Sometimes with impatience, sometimes with rolled eyes, sometimes with silence, or worse, with words that cut. Allah knows this. Allah knows how easy it is to take them for granted. That's why He doesn't just suggest kindness, He commands it. He doesn't just ask for respect, He warns against even a sigh of annoyance. Not even of. Can you feel the weight of that? A single word of frustration is enough to displease Him. Now think about this. In our modern world, we are often told that success is independence. Move out, move on. Don't let anyone slow you down. But in Islam, success is never measured by how far you go alone. Success is measured by how you honor the ones who made your journey possible. Because here's the truth, no matter how high you climb, if you step over your parents to get there, you haven't really risen. You've only fallen in a different direction. There's a story of a man who carried his elderly mother on his back during Hajj. Imagine the scene, the desert heat, the massive crowds, each step heavy, painful, exhausting. And he asked the Prophet, I repaid her. And the Prophet replied, not even for a single contraction she endured while giving birth to you. Just let that sink in. A lifetime of service, of sacrifice, of carrying her, even that does not equal one moment of her pain for you. This is why Allah ties their rights to His own. Because without them, there is no you. Without their mercy, you wouldn't exist to even worship Him. So when He says, be grateful to me and to your parents, it's not just a reminder, it's a map. Gratitude to them is gratitude to Him. Disrespect to them is disrespect to Him. Now let's get real for a moment. We live in a time where people argue with parents as if it's normal, where phone calls go unanswered, where parents are put into homes, left alone to wait for visits that never come. And we justify it by saying, they don't understand me, or they're old-fashioned. But the Quran doesn't say, be kind to your parents if they agree with you. It doesn't say, Lower your wings of mercy only if they're modern enough. It commands kindness no matter what. Even if they struggle with faith, even if they push you toward disbelief, the Quran says, obey them not in that, but accompany them in this world with kindness. That's how high their place is. So next time you think about worship, don't just think of the prayer mat, the fast, the zakat. Think of the smile on your mother's face when you sit beside her without rushing away. Think of the relief in your father's heart when you thank him for his efforts. Think of the du'as that rise from their lips when you treat them with respect. Because those du'as might carry you further than any degree, any salary, any promotion ever could. The truth is, you don't need a lecture to know this. You just need to imagine the day they won't be there anymore. Imagine the silence in the house. Imagine the empty chair at the dinner table. Imagine the missed phone calls that will never ring again. On that day, you'd give the world to hear their voice one more time, to hug them one more time, to say, I love you one more time. But by then, the chance will be gone, so don't wait for that day. Do it now. Call them, hug them, sit with them, pray for them. Because kindness to parents isn't just an act of love, it's an act of worship. And when you do it, you're not just making them happy, you're pleasing the one who placed them in your life as your first door to Jannah. Picture this. A man walks into his house late at night. He's wearing an expensive suit, carrying the weight of success on his shoulders. The world outside sees him as powerful. They see his cars, his achievements, his bank account. But when he opens the door, the house is silent. No one waits at the table. No one asks how his day went. The lights are on, but the warmth is gone. This is the tragedy of modern success. It shines on the outside, but often feels empty inside. And here's the truth people rarely talk about: without family, success is just noise. Without family, the applause of the crowd fades into loneliness. Without family, the victories you thought would taste sweet feel hollow in your chest. Think of the Quran's wisdom here. Allah doesn't measure success by the size of your wealth, but by the state of your relationships. The Prophet Muhammad once said, the best of you are those who are best to their families. Notice he didn't say, the best of you are those who earn the most, or the best of you are those who are most admired by strangers. He tied greatness not to your business, not to your reputation, but to the way you treat the people in your home. And yet, how many people miss this? A young entrepreneur works day and night to build his empire, telling himself, I'm doing this for my family. But his children grow up without him. They remember his absence more than his presence. He gave them toys, but not time. He gave them gifts, but not guidance. He built a house, but not a home. Let me give you a real image. Imagine a banquet hall decorated with gold and crystal. The table is set for a feast. The chairs are polished. The chandeliers sparkle. But when you sit down, there's no food. That's what success without family feels like. Everything looks perfect, but you are starving inside. Now, flip that image. A small, humble home. The furniture is old. The food on the table is simple. Maybe just bread, maybe just soup. But there's laughter. There's warmth. A father telling his children stories. A mother smiling at her child's small achievements. A grandparent making doors for the family. Which one feels richer? Which one would you rather come home to? And isn't it interesting that some of the most famous and wealthy people in the world often admit this themselves? They say, I achieved everything I wanted, but I feel lonely. Because deep down, we are not wired for material alone. We are wired for connection. Allah created us to need love, mercy, and belonging. That's why Islam doesn't just encourage family bonding, it elevates it. When Allah speaks of spouses, He calls them a source of tranquility. When He speaks of parents, He places their respect right after His own worship. When He speaks of children, He calls them a trust and a manner. The Quran teaches us that your family is not just part of your life. It is your life. Now, let me tell you something powerful. I once heard a man say, "The saddest day of my life was when I realized that my children knew me only as a provider, not as a father." He said, "They knew my money, but not my voice. They knew my gifts, but not my heart." That confession stayed with me. Because isn't that what so many people are unknowingly walking into? Working endlessly to give their family a better life, while forgetting that they themselves are the better life their family needs. And think of the Prophet Muhammad himself, the most influential man in history, a leader of nations, a general, a teacher, a prophet. Yet in his home, he was gentle. He would sit with his grandchildren, carry them on his back, mend his own clothes, help his wives with household chores. He showed us that greatness outside means nothing if you fail inside. So maybe we need to redefine success. Not the corner office, not the expensive car, not the applause of people who don't even know you, but the smile of your mother when you visit her, the dua of your father when you serve him, the laughter of your children when you sit with them, the peace of your spouse when you treat them with mercy. Because in the end, nobody stands at your grave and talks about your wealth. They talk about how you made them feel. They talk about the love you gave, the time you shared, the bonds you built. That is the real legacy. That is the success that never fades. So I'll leave you with this thought. True success is not what you leave for your family. It's what you leave in your family. And no amount of money or fame can ever replace the love, mercy, and bond that the Qur'an tells us to nurture every single day. Imagine living in a world where everything around you is screaming, "Me first." Advertisements tell you, "You deserve it." Social media whispers, "Show off your life." Universities and workplaces remind you daily, your success is all about you. And slowly, without realizing it, we start to believe that family can wait. Parents can wait. Children can wait. Spouses can wait. But here's the strange thing. The more we chase, the emptier me becomes. Because without is hollow. It's like a tree without roots, standing tall for a while, but the first strong wind, it collapses. I once heard a story of a young man who left his hometown to pursue his career abroad. He was ambitious, determined to make something of himself. He worked long hours, bought a big house, and filled it with expensive furniture. But years later, he admitted something heartbreaking. "I achieved everything I thought I wanted. Yet every night when I came home, the silence was louder than my success." Why? Because in chasing the world, he had lost the bond with his parents. He had missed his children growing up. He had chosen me so much there was no ooze left. And when he finally looked back, he realized that success without family feels like arriving at a party where all the lights are on, the music is playing, the table is set, but no one came. Contrast this with another scene. A father sitting on the floor with his little daughter, having tea out of plastic cups from her toy set. There is no wealth in that room, no glamour, no spotlight. But there is joy, there is connection, there is presence. That moment of laughter, of love, of togetherness, worth more than any paycheck, more than any title. That's the secret society doesn't tell you. Success without family is lonely, but family without success still feels like wealth. The Qur'an teaches us balance. It does not say don't work, don't pursue dreams, don't have ambitions. It tells us to seek the blessings of this world, but also to protect our akhirah, our hereafter. And what protects our akhirah more than our relationships with family? The Prophet Muhammad said, "The best of you are those who are best to their families." Notice that. Not the best at earning money, not the best at impressing society, but the best at being present, loving, merciful to their families. But modern culture flips it. It sells us the illusion that happiness is in independence. I don't need anyone. Yet the Qur'an gently reminds us that we are created in pairs, created in families, designed for connection. Independence without love becomes isolation. Freedom without family becomes loneliness. How many people do we know who achieved worldly success but sit alone at dinner, scrolling through their phones, secretly wishing they had someone to share it with. And how many people with modest homes, modest jobs, find themselves surrounded by children's laughter, parents' does, a spouse's comfort, and feel like the richest person alive. The tragedy is that society tells us to prioritize the wrong order. It says, build your career first, build your wealth first, and then, if you have time, go back and reconnect with family. But Islam tells us the opposite. Islam says, build your family first, because when family bonds are strong, your career is blessed, your wealth is blessed, your heart is content. When your mother raises her hands to the sky and makes dua for you, doors open that no amount of effort could unlock. When your father's heart is pleased with you, success follows you in ways the world cannot explain. And yet too often we miss this secret. We chase the applause of strangers while neglecting the people who love us unconditionally. We chase the likes of thousands online, but ignore the smile of our child in the next room. We chase promotions while our parents wait by the phone for a simple call. And by the time we realize what we've lost, sometimes it's too late. That's why the Qur'an warns us again and again. It tells us to honor our parents, to love our spouses, to raise our children with mercy. Because family isn't just a comfort, it's protection. It's the shield that guards us from the emptiness of a world that thrives on selfishness. So the question we must ask ourselves is this: are we building a life where me shines but is neglected? Or are we building a life where Os thrives and because of that me is fulfilled? The truth is, you will never regret putting family first. No one on their deathbed ever says, I wish I spent more time at the office. They say, I wish I spent more time with the people I love. Mercy, patience, and forgiveness. 3 words that sound simple, but they carry the weight of entire families on their shoulders. Without them, love dries up. Without them, relationships crack. Without them, family turns into strangers living under the same roof. And the Quran doesn't just recommend these values. It insists on them because Allah knows the human heart. He knows that family is not always easy, but it is always worth protecting. Picture this. A teenage son slams his bedroom door because his father didn't understand his dream. A mother sits silently at the dinner table because her daughter's words cut deeper than she realized. A husband and wife go to sleep with their backs turned, not speaking because pride has built a wall between them. These are not dramatic movie scenes. These are everyday realities in our homes. And here's the truth: these small moments, if left unchecked, can grow into years of distance, resentment, and silence. This is why the Quran gives us mercy as the first tool. Mercy is not weakness, it's strength. Mercy is when a mother cooks dinner again, even though no one thanked her yesterday. Mercy is when a father hugs his child even after being disrespected. Mercy is when a spouse lets go of a harsh word, because they know one argument is not worth destroying years of love. The Quran says, Allah placed love and mercy between spouses as a sign of His greatness. That mercy doesn't come from us. It's gifted to us. But it's up to us to keep it alive. Then comes patience. And patience, when it comes to family, is not passive. It's active. It's choosing to stay calm when your child tests your limits for the 100th time. It's holding your tongue when your parents repeat advice you've already heard 1,000 times. It's understanding that people grow, people change, and relationships take time. Think of the Prophet A. How much patience did he show with his companions, his family, and even those who wronged him? And if he could be patient with the entire world, can we not be patient with the people under our own roof? And then there is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about saying, what you did was okay. Forgiveness is saying, I will not let what you did control my heart anymore. Families will hurt each other. It's inevitable. Words will be said, mistakes will be made. But the Quran commands us to forgive, because forgiveness heals not just the other person, but also ourselves. How many siblings haven't spoken for years over something that could have been solved with one phone call? How many children regret ignoring their parents, but only after it's too late? Forgiveness costs us our pride, but it gives us peace. And that's a trade worth making. Imagine a family gathering where grudges were left at the door. Imagine parents smiling at children who finally understood the value of gratitude. Imagine siblings laughing together because they decided that love was more important than ego. That is the picture the Quran paints for us. A home where mercy flows, patience stands firm, and forgiveness breaks every chain of bitterness. I remember a story of a man who came to the Prophet asking, "Who deserves my good treatment the most?" The Prophet replied, "Your mother." The man asked again, "Then who?" The Prophet said, "Your mother." He asked a third time, "Then who?" The Prophet said, "Your mother." Only after the fourth time did he say, "Your father." Do you see it? This is not just about respect. This is about patience, mercy, and forgiveness being practiced daily, especially with those closest to us. Because family bonds are fragile. They're like glass. Once cracked, they can be mended, but the scars remain. The Quran doesn't want us to live in fractured families. It calls us to rise above our anger, above our pride, above our pain, to choose mercy, patience, and forgiveness again and again. So the next time your child disobeys, pause. The next time your parent lectures you, listen. The next time your spouse annoys you, breathe. And the next time your sibling hurts you, forgive. Because every act of mercy, every ounce of patience, every moment of forgiveness is not just saving your family, it's saving yourself. And on the day of judgment, maybe those small acts will be the reason Allah shows you the same mercy you showed others. Imagine a society where children grow up without fathers in the home, where mothers are overwhelmed and unsupported, where grandparents are left in nursing homes rarely visited, and where siblings treat each other as strangers. Does that sound familiar? Because this is not a distant reality, it's the reality of millions today. And when families break down, the cracks spread outwards, shaping broken neighborhoods, fractured communities, and nations that lose their soul. Now picture the opposite. A home where a child wakes up to love, guidance, and discipline balanced with mercy. Where a mother knows she is valued, respected, and not carrying the weight of life alone. Where a father is not absent but present, not just financially but emotionally. Where grandparents are a source of wisdom, not a forgotten afterthought. That kind of home doesn't just raise good children, it raises a generation that heals society. This is why Islam ties family bonding to the health of humanity. Allah didn't design families as a coincidence. He made them the root of everything. If the root is strong, the tree flourishes. If the root is weak, the whole tree withers. That's why the Quran speaks so strongly against cutting family ties. The Prophet Muhammad said, "The one who severs ties of kinship will not enter paradise." Harsh, or is it simply a warning that when we sever those ties, we create a ripple effect of destruction that harms not just us, but everyone around us? Think about how many problems we see today that could be traced back to family neglect. Take crime, for example. Studies across the world reveal a consistent pattern. Youth who grow up without family support are far more likely to fall into drugs, violence, and despair. Not because they were born bad, but because they were born hungry. Hungry for love. Hungry for guidance. Hungry for connection. When family doesn't provide it, the world outside will provide a counterfeit version. Gangs, addictions, toxic friendships. Now think of loneliness, one of the silent epidemics of the modern world. People today are more connected than ever through screens, yet they feel more alone than ever in their hearts. Why? Because likes and followers cannot replace the warmth of a mother's hug, the laughter of a sibling, or the wisdom of a father's advice. The Quran's vision of family isn't just about structure, it's about feeding the soul with belonging. And then there's the elderly. In some societies, old age is treated like a burden, Parents spend their lives raising children, sacrificing everything, only to be abandoned when they're frail. Islam flipped that script entirely. The Quran doesn't just ask you to be kind to parents, it tells you to lower the wing of humility and pray for them. My Lord, have mercy on them as they raised me when I was small. Imagine a world where every child grew up with that ingrained sense of gratitude. Would there still be so many lonely elders in hospitals and care homes waiting for a phone call that never comes? Family bonds, then, are not private matters locked inside four walls. They are society's lifeline. A family is a factory that produces citizens. If that factory is filled with compassion, society will be filled with compassion. If it's filled with neglect, society will be filled with neglect. The Quran understood what modern policy makers are still struggling to figure out: fixing schools, fixing crime, fixing poverty. It all starts at home. And let's be honest, family life isn't perfect. There will always be clashes, misunderstandings, moments of distance. But here's the secret. Islam doesn't demand perfection in family life. It demands effort. Effort to forgive. Effort to reconnect. Effort to show mercy, even when you don't feel like it. The Prophet A said, "The best of you are those who are best to their families. Not the best in business, not the best in politics, the best in how they treat the people at home." That means greatness begins not on stages, not in offices, but at the dinner table, in the living room, in the way you answer your parents' call or play with your child. So when we talk about family bonding, we are not talking about a nice to have. We are talking about survival. We are talking about the shield that protects society from collapse. If every person here today picked up the phone to reconcile with a sibling, visited their parents with a smile, or sat down for one uninterrupted hour with their children, that small action wouldn't just strengthen a family. It would ripple into generations. Because societies are not built in parliaments, they are built in living rooms. Nations are not healed in courtrooms. They are healed at dinner tables. The future is not written in textbooks. It is written in bedtime stories told by parents who care. So the next time you wonder why the world feels so divided, so restless, so cold, don't just look at the news. Look at the homes. Because when family bonds are weak, society falls apart. But when family bonds are strong, society becomes unbreakable. So here's the truth. Family is not just a part of life, it is the heart of life. Without family, wealth feels empty. Without family, success feels lonely. Without family, even the brightest lights feel dark. But with family, real family, bonded by love, mercy, and faith, everything changes. Homes become gardens, meals become memories, struggles become easier, and society itself begins to heal. Don't wait. Don't wait to forgive. Don't wait to reconnect. Don't wait to say, "I love you." Don't wait until the chair at the dinner table is empty. Don't wait until your chance is gone. Because every call you answer to your parents, every smile you give your children, every moment you sit together in peace, these are not small things. These are the bricks that build strong families. And strong families build strong nations. So remember this. If you want to change the world, start with your home. If you want to heal society, start with your family. If you want to build a legacy that outlives you, start with your children. And never forget this final truth: the strength of a nation is not measured by its armies, its wealth, or its power. It is measured by the love inside its families.